Butcher's back.
The Butcher. Hey everyone, welcome back to AsArt with Nick and John. Post new videos this week, so click subscribe. Check out AsArt.space for the audio and video links, and we have some Boys original merchandise, so check out the shop on there as well. This is part 2 of 3 in the first 3 episodes of The Boys. Episode 2, The Butcher is back, your favorite character.
Yes.
I can't help but say, even though he's the supposed leader, things get worse and worse the more he leads, it seems like.
But it creates for a better story.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
No. Okay. First of all, I love the idea of him trying to remember every moment he could of like the house, angle of the sun, all that stuff. And it also shows how crazy powerful Homelander is. How he get like in and out within a couple seconds. And then like, you know, so it's almost like playing in his head. Like, did that really happen? Am I crazy kind of thing?
I thought at first he couldn't remember and he thought it was like a dream and he was writing down notes like you would for a dream. But it's him just being so, smart with his training. He's trying to, based on the direction of the sun and this and that, can I figure out where it's at? And it's cool. It's like, this is still, as of, this episode, I'm still trying to figure out so much where this is all going to go, because this is such a huge arc as far as him and really his whole driving force as him as a character and what he's been turned into, because in season 1, I can't remember what episode it is, but you find out he wasn't always this jerkish guy. He kind of always had a little bit of a arrogance about him, but he was kind of molded into this basically by Homelander, which is very interesting. So it's a fun story to have that. That's probably going to be however many seasons the show goes. That's going to be the huge, driving theme, I imagine. And
it was really cool to see Becca finally, his wife.
Yes,
the whole like play on her, like being a mom, actually being really protective of her kid, and then seeing the weird dynamic going on with like Homelander trying to be a dad, trying to be accepted still. It's like no one's ever fully accepted him, and now he's trying to get his own son to accept him, and you can tell like he's trying to like right the wrongs that were done in his life, kind of thing. So like his heart's kind of maybe in the right place. I don't know though, because he's so evil.
And the funny thing is as relatively bad as a character as you think of him, like as a character you really sympathize for the guy, because he finds out he actually has a family. Like you said, he's never really been accepted. He has a son, but yet he has no idea how to be a dad. And at first he's so ashamed of it, he even lies to his kids like my dad and this, and no, just kidding, actually I didn't have any of that, so it's like
because he was playing catch with him, right? And he like lied about his like dad being like a pro baseball player or being at a game or something like crazy. But it's been really cool to see that whole dynamic, and also to see him negotiating with Becca to keep Butcher alive. I think that was so weird.
Yes.
Like you would think he would just be able to go in and like force his way in. So maybe he knows like if there's something wrong with the balance of like, dad and mom, that can mess with the kid's head kind of thing. So he's willing to like almost play the part to make it look like they are friends kind of thing.
Yeah, that is interesting, because I didn't think about that, because with everybody else, even Gus from Breaking Bad, he basically just tried and said, I can do whatever I want. And Gus in his own way was able to control that conversation. But with the mom, she doesn't really have any power play cards. Yeah, with Becca, she doesn't have any power play cards, and yet he still let Butcher live, which is, I'm glad they gave us that little nugget. That might have just been a nugget as far as now we know why the Butcher is still alive, whereas otherwise he would have been eliminated. So maybe that was just a little nugget so we understand the context of why he's still alive. But you're right, there was no reason for him to let him live. Well, so when the Butcher came back, the black what was it, Mother's Milk, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so at the end of episode 1, when the Butcher comes back, he's wearing all this Homelander outfit, and he's like, the hell are you wearing? And I almost feel like it's Homelander that brought him back or let him go back, because it's just so funny how he came in all this Captain America, Homelander guards, and like him returning was kind of odd. Why wouldn't he have just come back right away? It was like really interesting. So
yeah,
I'm almost curious to just push back in this dynamic.
We're gonna get an episode. Well, I wonder if we're gonna get an episode of him doing stuff behind the scenes.
Oh, you mean Butcher?
For Butcher, yeah. Well, technically, maybe he didn't know where they were until Frenchie reached out. Because didn't Frenchie call him after they went to their FBI contact or CIA contact Oh my gosh, I was not expecting that at all. I thought maybe she had superpowers or something, and they were like being
I thought she
activated.
maybe had cancer and she was sick or something, and
But
you know,
then,
like
boom, Huey. How many times has Huey's has blood splattered on him almost in every episode?
and it is amazing. But he's in the van hysterical. He's like, our head's going to pop. Our head's going to pop. I forgot. It's like, our head's going to explode. Huey and the Deep are my favorite. I can't. Huey is hilarious. When he's freaking out, I'm just laughing so hard. Oh yeah. I mean, when her head just popped, it was. I started laughing so hard. This humor is definitely right down my alley of what I enjoy. This is hilarious. In fact, that might be one of my two favorite spots in the show so far this season. Yeah.
So and then now we have this girl power thing, right? There's all these like they oh my gosh, I love the whole like behind the scenes, the way they're questioning them, and they have to almost like have a script. And like it's even so interesting too, like how Stormfront, it's like they're wanting us on Stormfront's side, right? Like she's so bold to be able to say, no, that isn't right, or no, this is wrong. You know, it's like, oh cool, there's a character that's like sticking up for herself. Because like Starlight, when she did it, she was just kind of like, okay, I do this. You can tell she didn't want to do certain things. But she's like, I worked so hard to get there. And we kind of seen that with Maeve too, right? Because when Maeve had that talk with Starlight, you know what I mean? So it's just kind of like this whole thing.
Which is really interesting too, because Gus, he's again, Breaking Bad. Gus brought her in. So it's very interesting to me that, okay, what was his reasoning? Because he's clearly an intelligent character. He's running that company. He's able to talk down a god in a conversation, Homelander. And yet he brought in this girl that basically doesn't want to do what the company wants them to do. So I'm very interested to see how that dynamic's going to go and, what he's going to have to say about that. That's very fascinating. It is.
And it's also cool, too, to see a different side of Maeve. Queen Maeve. You finally get the backstory of why she's scared to even.
Yeah.
And it's because of Homelander. Like she's like terrified of Homelander. And she probably knows better than anyone else. And it's like she was explaining like the stuff I've seen him do. Remember like last season with the plane, how he let everyone die on the plane, you know what I mean? And so she knows how dark he is. And maybe
and it sounds like aside from Homelander, she's been around the longest out of the, the seven, that's still in the seven. And it's fun because she had just a small section of an episode in the first season of her relationship with that girl, and here we are getting that develop more and the reasons maybe why that ended. I'm like, oh, that's really, really cool, because I had almost forgotten about that. And I watched The Boys not that long ago. If you guys watched it when the series first aired, or was streaming like Nick did, you maybe even forgot about that whole relationship, but it's a very cool arc, and now you're starting to see that play out, and I hope they continue to develop that because that's kind of a cool side story.
Yeah, I kind of really like it because like I like how not every superhero is the same. They all have extremely different issues. I don't know what the play is with A-Train though this season. I feel like they're really forcing him and Starlight to have some kind of storyline together.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if it's coming across yet. Maybe it'll be revealed later on because like the whole like both kind of blackmailing each other and like it shows Starlight kind of playing the game where
it shows her getting quicker on her feet. She's able to just think quick and think,
but getting her hands dirtier too, though. Because I feel like the more she does this, the deeper she goes under. You know what I mean? Like the worse is gonna get for her when finally something happens, and it feels like she's gonna be alone because there's no one else in the seven that we know of that would help her and stuff at this point. So
yeah. I honestly, I'm still sticking to my guns. I think A-Train is going to become a good character one way or another. I think he's probably. I think he's going to die. I think he's going to die from a heart attack. This is me just completely spitting out, random, bro science. But I think he's going to die because they keep hinting at that so hard, in the episodes, and it seems like that will be the completion of his arc and becoming like a good character. Would be that okay? He's, he started out a bad guy. Almost started this whole conflict because you already had the Butcher and Homelander, but he's who brought Huey into this story. Yeah. And you'll see and this might be, a season or two down the road, but it seems like to me they're trying to get to that point, I think. I mean, I'm completely just guessing, obviously.
I loved when he popped in though during the interview. He was like, "Hey, And she was like, what's going on? He's like playing. He knows how to play the game of like he's hugging her.
Yeah.
And then he's like, A-Train's playing the guitar. And
she's like, you know how to play?
Like,
no.
Nope. It's so perfect.
He's like,
and it's so interesting because like if he was already on to her about the stuff being leaked, I feel like the company had to know that she had you know what I mean? Like the whole like thing, like I mean, if he's able to find out and he was like a drug addict and you know what I mean? Like he's not always in the right state of mind when it comes to planning things out. Like Homelander was always disappointed of him in the first season and stuff. It was so interesting that he was able to spot little things. Like I wonder if Stormfront knew what was happening with the bag thing because she was just off to the corner. And I don't know if she's like a spot. It's so like kind of strong writing, but kind of not. I don't know.
That would be interesting because if she is almost a spy off in the corner, because like we were talking about, I think in the last episode, she was brought in by a company person, for reasons we don't know yet. Because it seems like she speaks out against. You know what? Actually, I like that theory you're kind of going with. So Stan, the kind of president of the company, this is our theory, just make it up on the fly. He brought in Stormfront as like a spy, and he has her acting like she's against the company. So whoever's the mole, opens up to her eventually. That's like that could be a possibility. Because again, otherwise, I don't know why he would have handpicked her.
Or maybe she's there to control Homelander. Maybe because she has a social media presence. So if anything she says can turn the public against Homelander, then he becomes an outcast too. So maybe maybe that's like the easiest. His only weakness he has left is everyone in the world hating him.
Yeah, I mean, but that being said, like so much of their company's image is invested in him too. That would be I guess so. I mean, if you have to choose between losing control of your company or kind of defacing one of your people, that's interesting.
Totally
interesting theories though.
So let's talk about. We'll end with the Deep because that's John's favorite character. We'll talk about his shroom trip and with his Scientology stuff. But before we do that, man. So the female caught up with her brother. It was just like, and I kind of knew it was her brother too. Once like, I don't know. Once I saw like when she just rips that dude's head off. Oh my gosh. Cause he had the star tattoo on his chest or whatever.
Yeah. And the guy comes in, he's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So, but it was funny. I clearly she knew him somehow. I thought it was going to be like her son or something like boy, girl or, but it was a cool kind of reveal.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a cool reveal. I'm very interested what's going to happen with him because I know he's just tied up in the car right now. And we'll hopefully get more out of it, but he's crazy strong because he's able to throw people with his mind, which I think could be a benefit maybe to the team because like right now there's non-superhero people trying to fight superhero people. The more superhero people they can get on their team, the better chance they have. You know what I mean? Like I think so. I mean, how is he going to take down a super without a super?
Do you think they run the risk if they keep introducing characters at this pace that they're going to oversaturate the cast kind of like the Avengers did when you get into the Avengers movies?
Not if they kill them off, because I feel like the boys isn't afraid to kill off some of these characters.
That's true. The Avengers they can't because they have all the spin-off movies and stuff. Yeah, that's true.
Where I think it benefits the show to kill off characters at this point. It's kind of like Game of Thrones. The more gore and like deaths that happen, the more we seem to enjoy the show.
Well, and that's one knock against Nick and I are Star Wars nerds is. You always until Han Solo and some people die, the characters always make it out. And I don't know Star Trek that well, but I guess Star Trek and all the TV series, you never lose any of your principal characters. They might get put in bad situations, but they always get out of it. So it's just kind of one of those things.
So the Deep talks and sings with his gills. I know, John. I know how much you love the Deep. You're probably crying of laughter through that whole
I was
sequence.
laughing. So I was trying to figure out who did the voice for his gills. Who did the voice for the gills?
It had to be like a writer or something.
No, the voice sounded familiar. Like it was a voice that I'm used to hearing. But I thought it was hilarious. Just the whole idea. Like he drank all the brewed mushrooms, and he goes, "Wait, you're not going to drink it?" He goes, "No, bro, this is your journey." And he's like, It was just so funny. And it went on for a while too. Like he thinks it's over. He's like, oh, thank God. He's like, oh no. It's like, oh man, I was laughing so hard.
And I'm very curious what's going to happen with the Deep. Is he going to make it back into the 7? Is he going to appreciate himself? Because it sounds like he has a lot of issues where he hates himself and he thinks he's ugly because of his body and stuff. So maybe if he finds out that the lab did this to him, he might get pretty pissed maybe or something too. Because he's like, I'm disgusted. And so if he has a reason to be angry or shift his motive somewhere, maybe we'll see more of a character arc from him. And you know what? One thing I also thought was funny how they were going to use CGI for translucence. Since he was dead, he couldn't play himself. So they were going to get maybe a green screen or blue screen. Or maybe they'll use what I think is the best for invisible shows. Just do a string with like a Fleming can or whatever. I think that's from Arrested Development season 4 or something. Like they do Fantastic Four ripoffs. And when they do the action sequence, you could just tell like whenever the invisible lady's there, she's like throwing things, but there's like strings on it and everything. It's so good, so good. John, what would you give this episode 1 out of 10?
This episode I liked more than the first one, and that's typically how I tend. Like Nick, this is a sidetrack thing, but Nick likes the first Lord of the Rings the most because it's establishing the characters. I like when you're in the thick of it, you already know the characters, like the second and third one. So I like this more. So if I gave the last one an 8, this is probably like an 8.5 or a 9.
Yeah, this is totally there. I think this would have been a better first episode to start on than the other one. Because like we get Butcher, we get like I think like him trying to figure out what happened. Because like we left off on that last sequence with that thing, and we had to wait a whole episode just to get the payoff from the end of the last.
Yeah.
And I was just like, we kind of wanted that because like we wanted to know. Is the kid going to laser? You know what I mean? We wanted to know what happened. We wanted to
know. Wow. So we wanted to know. You gave us 3 episodes a day. We wanted to know. But you know what? The thing that I did think was interesting, though, is the dynamic. Okay, if the Butcher's not around, he's not pushing everybody, what's the dynamic actually like? What are the guys like when they're kind of not being forced into situations? So I thought it was kind of an insightful episode. It's kind of like if you guys have seen Breaking Bad, there's the odd but insightful Fly episode where a fly is just flying around the lab and it's just Jesse and Walter, and it's just character development, and this is a completely different thing, but it seemed a little bit out of place not having the Butcher there, but you kind of got to get the ideas. Okay, what are these guys' motives and things like that. So the first episode was interesting, but you're right. Like this one was a little bit more fulfilling as far as the cliffhanger we had. All right, guys. So hopefully this was a fun recap of episode 2. We're going to be covering episode 3 as well. So we got 3 episodes up front. Thank you very much, Amazon. Check out AsArt.space for all the audio and video links. And since we do have some The Boys merchandise, check out the store on AsArt, and we will see you on the next show.